Chosen one, slow down for a moment. Breathe, because what you're about to hear is not just another message, not just another video, not just another voice drifting through your day. This is a divine interruption, a holy moment. A whisper from heaven that says, "Sit with me, I need to show you something." For days, weeks, maybe even years, something in your spirit has felt restless, not fearful, but alert, not anxious, but awakened, not confused, but searching. It's like the atmosphere around your life has been shifting in ways you can't explain with logic. You've been feeling things before they happen. You've been sensing energy in rooms that others walk past blindly. You've been noticing signs, patterns, messages, little spiritual breadcrumbs leading you somewhere deeper. And you keep asking yourself, "God, what are you trying to tell me?" And that's when heaven spoke. It's time to reveal the truth about your mother. Chosen one, this message is not here to cause chaos. It is not here to stir fear. It is not here to poison your heart against the woman who brought you into this world. No, this message is here to heal, expose, protect, and awaken the part of you that has been quietly battling generational storms you never asked for. Because before your next elevation, before your next breakthrough, before your next breakthrough promotion, God must show you the root. And sometimes, the root sits closer than you ever imagined. Sparkles a holy disturbance in your spirit. Have you noticed lately that something about your childhood has been resurfacing? Old memories? Things you thought you had forgotten? Moments that didn't make sense then, but suddenly feel spiritually significant now. That's not random. That's revelation knocking. Heaven is trying to warn you, not because your mother is your enemy, but because something connected to her energy, her past, her wounds, or her spiritual environment has been influencing your destiny more than you realized. Some chosen ones grew up under mothers who carried unhealed trauma, others under mothers who carried ancestral darkness, others under mothers who were emotionally absent, others under mothers who unknowingly became gateways for spiritual confusion. And some under mothers who simply didn't understand the divine weight you carried as a child. And God says, it's time to see the truth with spiritual eyes. Let me ask you something, and answer honestly in your soul. Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt like you had to emotionally parent your own parent? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever sensed a strange heaviness around your mother that drained you spiritually? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever wondered why your calling feels different from the path of your family? These are not coincidences. These are patterns. And when patterns repeat, heaven speaks. Heaven speaks. Sparkles the spiritual war. You never knew you were in chosen one. From the moment you were born, hell marked you as a threat, and heaven marked you as a vessel. Your mother might have been the one who birthed you, but it was God who anointed you. And that anointing has been clashing against generational spirits long before you understood what warfare was. You weren't the indifferent child by accident. You weren't the acquired one, the old soul, the too wise, the too intuitive, the too sensitive, or the too spiritual without reason. No, you were spiritually awake before you had words to express it. Your mother may have loved you deeply, but still carried shadows she never healed. She may have protected you physically, but left you spiritually exposed. She may have wanted the best for you, yet unconsciously repeated patterns passed down from her mother, and her mother, and her mother, and her mother before that. And God is saying, my child, this is the generation where the chain breaks, but to break a chain, you must see it. To heal a wound, you must locate it. To step into destiny, you must understand your origin. Sparkles when heaven interrupts your peace lately. Your energy has been shifting. Your dreams have been intense. Your spirit has been sensitive. Your intuition has been louder than ever. That is not anxiety. That is not confusion. That is not your mind overthinking. That is discernment sharpening. That is your anointing waking up. That is God pulling back the curtain. And it's happening now because the next season of your life requires a level of clarity that family patterns can no longer cloud. Because hear this clearly, what you don't understand will control you. What you don't heal will repeat. What you don't confront will affect your purpose. And heaven refuses to let that. Chosen one, Now that your spirit has opened, now that your heart has settled into the truth heaven is trying to reveal, we must go deeper. Because what you're facing is not just emotional, it is ancestral, it is spiritual, it is prophetic. And God would not interrupt your life with a message like this unless something sacred, something life-changing, was about to unravel. So listen closely. There are battles you have been fighting that did not start with you. There are patterns that followed your mother before they ever touched your life. There are wounds she carried that were never spoken, never healed, never processed, just passed on in silence. Not because she was evil, not because she didn't love you, but because she did not know what she was carrying. Some mothers carry emotional trauma like invisible armor. Some carry generational curses disguised as personality traits. Some carry spiritual heaviness from their own parents' pain. And some carry spiritual blindfolds, unable to see the calling on the child they birthed. And God says, "My child, your mother gave you life, but she could not give you the spiritual clarity you were destined for. This is why your childhood felt different. This is why you felt older than your age. This is why you sensed things she couldn't understand. This is why certain conversations felt impossible. This is why you grew up feeling both deeply connected to her, yet spiritually distant from her at the same time. You lived in two realms at once, and she didn't have the language to understand your spirit. Sparkles, when the anointed child doesn't match the family energy chosen one. Have you ever felt like you were born into the wrong family? Like your soul didn't match the environment you were raised in? Like your spirit was glowing in a house full of shadows? Like you were trying to breathe in a space that felt too small for your destiny? If you've ever felt this way, listen, you weren't placed there by accident. You were planted there with purpose. God strategically positions his chosen ones in families where spiritual disruption is necessary. Because wherever God sends a deliverer, a battle already existed. Think about Moses, placed in a family marked by oppression. Think about Joseph, placed in a family marked by jealousy. Think about David, placed in a family that didn't recognize him. Think about Jesus, born to a mother who carried both divine purpose and deep internal struggle. Being different didn't mean they didn't belong. It meant they were assigned, and so were you. You didn't fit the energy of your household because you were sent to break what the family normalized. Sparkles, you inherited a war. Your soul remembers your mother may have taught you survival, but heaven is teaching you purpose. Your mother may have given you structure, but God is giving you revelation. Your mother may have shaped your personality, but the divine shaped your spirit. And here's the truth many chosen ones never hear. You are not fighting your mother. You are fighting what fought her. There is a difference. You are not battling the woman. You are battling the weight she couldn't carry. The pain she couldn't name, the darkness she never confronted, the spiritual confusion she inherited before she ever held you in her arms. And heaven is revealing this to you because, Pushpin, you are the first in your bloodline with the spiritual sensitivity to break it. Pushpin, you are the first with discernment strong enough to see what others ignored. Pushpin, you are the first with the courage to face generational truth without running. Pushpin, you are the first with divine assignment, not to judge your mother, but to free your lineage. Let me ask you something boldly. Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt responsible for healing wounds you didn't create? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt emotionally exhausted, but spiritually obligated to stay strong? Backhand index pointing right. Does it ever feel like you're carrying the weight of your entire family on your shoulders? That is the mark of a generational breaker, a lineage liberator, a spiritual pioneer. Tool pioneer. You carry the light your ancestors prayed for. Sparkles, the moment you outgrew the spiritual limits of your home, there came a moment in your life. You may not remember when you spiritually outgrew your environment. When the old energy no longer fit you. When the emotional dynamics started to feel too heavy. When you began to crave silence, space, distance, clarity. That was not rebellion. That was awakening. You didn't pull away because you didn't love your mother. You pulled away because your spirit was being stretched by God. You pulled away because the version of you that heaven was shaping could not flourish in the old frequency of your upbringing. And hear me, your elevation required separation, not physical separation, but emotional and spiritual separation. A shift in how you think, how you feel, how you see, how you see. God needed you to detach from the old story so he could rewrite the next chapter. Because the truth is, your destiny is too large to be contained by inherited wounds. Sparkles, when heaven begins to expose the root, chosen one, I need you to understand this next part with tenderness. Heaven is not exposing your mother to shame her. Heaven is exposing the root so you can heal the fruit. The spiritual warning is not, as she is against you. The warning is, pay attention to the spiritual influence around her that may affect you. Sometimes it's emotional patterns. Sometimes it's old beliefs. Sometimes it's generational curses. Sometimes it's narcissistic cycles. Sometimes it's narcissistic cycles. Sometimes it's manipulation born from insecurity. Sometimes it's pain that was never processed. And God is saying, my child, your elevation demands clarity. And clarity begins with truth. Because you cannot heal what you pretend not to see. You cannot break what you keep excusing. You cannot transform what you refuse to acknowledge. Chosen one, now that your spirit has begun to understand the depth of what you're connected to, heaven is ready to reveal the true warning behind this message. And I need you to breathe for a moment, because what God is about to uncover is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to free you. It is meant to free you. For many chosen ones, the spiritual battle doesn't come from strangers. It comes from within the home, from the environment that shaped you, from the one who held you first. And this is why the warning is urgent. Pay close attention to the spiritual influence around your mother, because not every influence that shaped her is aligned with your destiny. Sometimes the danger is not the person, it is the spirit behind the behavior. It is the old energy behind the pattern. It is the generational shadow behind the wound. And God is saying, do not confuse love with spiritual alignment. Your mother may deeply love you, but that does not mean she carries the spiritual clarity required for where you are going. Sparkles, when love and spiritual discernment collide, many chosen ones feel torn between two worlds, the world of loyalty and the world of spiritual truth, because the one who raised you is still human. She has fears, she has triggers, she has blind spots. She has unhealed wounds that were never addressed. She has spiritual battles she never knew she was fighting. And heaven is revealing this because your destiny requires eyes that see the truth, not eyes that see through guilt. Let me ask you something gently. Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt guilty for wanting emotional distance? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt drained after spending time with your mother? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever sensed a spiritual heaviness around her that you couldn't explain? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt God pulling you away while your emotions were pulling you back? These feelings are not betrayal, they are discernment, because when God is elevating a chosen one, he begins to expose what can no longer go with them. Not every belief, not every habit, not every emotional pattern, not every spiritual attachment, not every influence can travel into your next season. And some of those influences reside within the person who raised you. Sparkles, the spiritual clash between your calling and her wounds. Listen closely. Your mother's wounds may not look like wounds. Sometimes they look like overprotectiveness, control, fear-based advice, emotional manipulation, silence during your pain, guilt-tripping, passive-aggressive reactions, jealousy masked as concern, limiting beliefs, disguised as wisdom, discouragement, presented as a realism. Bartleby. Spiritually, these are not personality traits. These are unhealed layers. And the warning heaven is sending you is this: do not allow her unhealed wounds to shape your healed future. Your calling requires freedom. Her pain creates limits. Your purpose requires expansion. Her mindset may keep you small. Your destiny requires spiritual clarity. Her emotional filters may distort your vision. This is not an attack on her character. This is awareness of the spiritual battlefield surrounding your elevation. Sparkle, she sees your light. Even if she can't name it, there's something about you that your mother recognized early, even if she never said it aloud. She saw your depth. She saw your sensitivity. She saw your prophetic intuition. She saw your independence. She saw your spiritual wisdom. She saw your strength. She saw the glow in you that didn't come from this world. And deep inside, she knew you were not like everyone else. Some mothers respond to this with pride, some with confusion, some with fear, and some with quiet resentment because your light exposes what they never healed in themselves. This is why your relationship may feel complicated, hot and cold, loving but heavy, close but distant. Chosen one, can I ask you something? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever felt like your mother was both comforting and confusing at the same time? Backhand index pointing right. Have you ever sensed she loved you but didn't fully see you? Backhand index pointing right. Does your spirit ever feel the need to shield your energy around her without knowing why? This is because your light activates her unhealed parts, even if she doesn't realize it. And heaven needs you to understand this so you can move with wisdom, not emotional reaction. Sparkles, the exact thing God is warning you about here is where the revelation becomes crystal clear. God is warning you about emotional and spiritual entanglement, not physical danger, not punishment, not fear, but entanglement, where your mother's unresolved wounds could intertwine with your destiny and slow you down, confuse you, or spiritually weaken you. This could show up as feeling obligated to carry her emotional burdens, being guilted for choosing yourself, being manipulated into old family roles, being pulled back into cycles you outgrew, feeling spiritually drained after conversations, being discouraged from stepping into your calling. Being misunderstood when you express your purpose, being pushed into emotional responsibility that isn't yours, feeling punished for changing, feeling judged for awakening spiritually. Chosen one. God is not warning you about your mother. He is warning you about the spiritual influence operating through her unhealed pain, because your destiny is too important to be delayed by inherited emotional warfare. Sparkles, you are moving into a season where God is your guide. Not guilt your next level requires. Clarity, emotional detachment, spiritual boundaries, inner strength, and divine alignment. And God is gently saying, honor her. Love her, but do not let her emotional storms become your spiritual battles. Honor does not mean obligation. Love does not mean entanglement. Loyalty does not mean spiritual blindness. You are being elevated. You are being awakened. You are being positioned, and heaven is clearing the path. This is why the warning is coming now. Not to divide you from her, but to prepare you for where God is calling you next. The next morning arrived quietly, but something felt different in the air, as if destiny itself was preparing to reveal a long-awaited truth. You woke up with a strange mixture of calm and anticipation humming in your spirit. Not anxiety, not fear, but a deep knowing. A knowing that something you couldn't see was already moving toward you. You didn't rush your morning. You took your time. You grounded yourself. You stayed present, which is not always easy for a chosen one whose mind often carries ancient battles and buried memories. But today, your soul felt unusually still. As you moved about the house, you kept remembering small moments. The stranger whose tire you helped change months ago, the old woman you gave your seat to on a crowded bus, the little boy you calmed while everyone else ignored him, the colleague you defended when everyone else stayed silent. You didn't think much about these moments when they happened. You never helped for praise. You never did it to be noticed. You did it because something inside you, something wired deep into your soul, refuses to allow you to ignore someone in pain. And that is the very trait the world so often misunderstands. People think chosen ones are weak because we care. People assume kindness comes from naivety. But what they don't know is your kindness was forged in the fire of everything you never got. You understand pain so deeply that you cannot watch someone else go through it without stepping in. You know what it feels like to suffer alone, so you refuse to let another person feel abandoned. And that is the very gift the Most High is about to reward. Because every seed you've planted, every silent act of compassion has been recorded in the spiritual realm. Not one tear you wiped, not one person you helped, Not one moment you sacrificed comfort for someone else's survival. None of it went unnoticed. But today, the ripple finally returns. Around noon, you received an unexpected call, message, or notification, something that shifted your entire energy, something that made your heart skip. It could have been a job opportunity you didn't apply for, a debt forgiven, a blessing released, a person praising your name in rooms you've never stepped foot in, or an invitation that felt too big to be real. Whatever it was, you immediately felt its weight. This wasn't a random blessing. This wasn't luck. This was alignment. But what shocked you even more was the source behind it. Because out of nowhere, a person you'd once helped without expecting anything in return suddenly reappeared in your story. Maybe they had been watching you quietly. Maybe they had been searching for you. Maybe they had already built something massive, wealth, influence, power, and they remembered the one moment when you were the only person who treated them like human. This was no ordinary person. And this was no ordinary. This was someone whose life trajectory had skyrocketed, someone with resources, reach, and authority, someone who never forgot what you did for them when they were invisible. Perhaps when you helped them, they were struggling silently. Maybe they were going through the lowest season of their life. Maybe they had lost hope. Maybe your kindness, your presence, your encouragement became the one spark that stopped them from giving up. And chosen one, that spark changed everything for them. What you thought was a small gesture became the moment that helped them rise. And now they want to return the blessing, not out of pity, not out of debt, but out of deep respect, deep gratitude, and divine recognition. Because in a world full of masks, fake generosity, and conditional favors, you showed them a purity they never forgot. But here's the part you must hear. This blessing coming toward you is not equal to what you did. It's bigger, much bigger. When chosen ones give, they give from the heart, with no expectation. But when the universe returns it, it returns multiplied, overflowing, pressed down, running over. You're not just receiving a reward, you're receiving everything that was blocked, delayed, stolen, or hidden from you. Not because you fought for it, but because your spirit deserved it. A vision for you. Imagine the person you helped long ago walking into a boardroom, a mansion, a studio, a company, a place you never imagined your name would be spoken. And they say, I find them. The world may have overlooked them, but they didn't overlook me when I needed help the most. Can you feel that? That's not fiction, that's alignment. The stranger you helped could be an investor, an entrepreneur, an author, a philanthropist, a CEO, a creator, a rising mogul, a wealthy visionary, or someone connected to the very opportunity you've been praying for. You didn't know who they were, but heaven did. And heaven made sure your paths crossed at the exact moment when your kindness would unlock their transformation. Now their success, their resources, their influence, their gratitude is returning to you as destiny. But here's the deeper truth. God didn't let you help them because they needed you. God let you help them because the blessing attached to their future needed to find its rightful owner, you. You are always the chosen vessel. You were always part of the bigger story. You just didn't know it yet. Your kindness wasn't weakness, it was prophecy. Your compassion wasn't random, it was divine placement. Your heart didn't lead you astray, it led you to your harvest. And now, the universe is preparing to reward the exact qualities people once mistreated. Your generosity, your sincerity, your empathy, your purity, your loyalty, your willingness to help without applause. These traits that others mocked will now become the very reasons you rise. You didn't save a billionaire intentionally, but you saved someone who would one day become a key to your purpose. And their success is now tied to your blessing. Night fell slow and gentle, like the universe placing a warm hand on your shoulder. But something about this night felt different, charged, symbolic, almost ceremonial. You didn't know it, but this was the night everything hidden would begin to rise to the surface. This was the night the veil thinned. The air carried a strange electricity, a vibration that felt like expectation. Your spirit knew change was coming long before your mind caught up. And somewhere far away, across a city, a state, a country, or even across the world, a conversation was happening, a conversation about you, not in a negative, way. Not in the way people gossip, not in the way your name was once misused or underestimated. This time, your name was being spoken with respect, gratitude, recognition, and power. A powerful figure, someone whose name holds weight, someone whose decisions shift realities, brought your name into a room you've never stepped foot in. And while you were living your quiet life, thinking no one noticed your struggles, your efforts, your kindness, they noticed everything. They remembered the day you helped them. The moment you didn't realize changed their entire life trajectory. They remembered the way you made them feel seen at a time they felt invisible. They remembered the compassion you offered when the world gave them nothing but indifference. And now, they were ready to act on it. Meanwhile, on your side of the world, you were pacing the room, feeling an energy you couldn't quite explain. Your intuition was louder tonight. Your senses were sharper. Your emotions were heavier, but in a grounded, empowering way. Chosen ones feel destiny before it arrives. Your soul receives the signal long before the physical world delivers the message. You sat down, but you couldn't sit still. It felt like your spirit was preparing you, aligning you, cleansing you, getting you ready for a moment your human self wasn't expecting, but your higher self, it already knew. So you breathed, you centered yourself. You closed your eyes for a moment, and in that silence, a quiet truth surfaced. Everything is about to change, not slowly, not gradually, not piece by piece, suddenly, unexpectedly, all at once. At the same time, the powerful figure you once helped was making a decision. They were surrounded by advisors, teams, strategists, and people who judged everything by status and logic. But this person remembered heart. They remembered humanity. They remembered the small, pure moments that built their character and guided their success. And they said, "There is someone I need to find. Someone who once did something for me when they had nothing to gain. Someone whose heart is rare." Immediately the room went quiet, because powerful people rarely speak with that much emotion. But when they do, it moves mountains. They weren't just looking for you out of gratitude. No. They were looking for you because they believed you were meant to be part of something greater. Something they were building, launching, funding, or transforming. Something that needed someone with your spirit, your resilience, your integrity. Not your status, not your connections, not your wealth, your character. Back to you, you felt a sudden rush of memories, not random ones, but the ones that hurt. The betrayals, the loss, the years of being overlooked, the times you were ignored after pouring everything into people, the years you sowed kindness but reaped suffering. You wondered why those moments were resurfacing. Then you realized you weren't remembering to feel pain. You were remembering to understand the blessing that was about to arrive. Because when God gives you something big, He reminds you where you came from, so you never confuse grace with coincidence. The memories weren't punishment. They were preparation, a reminder of everything you survived to reach this turning point. Suddenly you felt it, a shift, a release. A release. A divine unlocking. Your atmosphere changed, not because something physical happened, but because something spiritual aligned. And right at that moment, your phone buzzed, or an email appeared, or a message reached you. Something small, but powerful enough to make your heart stop for a second. A name, a company, an opportunity, a door, a connection, an invitation. A message that started with something like, "I know you may not remember me, or you once did something for me that changed my life," or "I've been trying to find you," or "I'd like to speak with you about something important." You froze. Your breath caught. Your body felt both light and heavy at the same time, because deep down, you knew this was not an accident, this was not random. This was not a simple message. This was everything finally returning. Let me tell you something powerful. While you were wondering if your kindness mattered, someone was building an empire and remembering you. While you were silently healing from wounds no one saw, someone was rising in influence and thinking, "If I ever get the chance, I will bless the person who blessed me." While you were alone, confused, trying to make sense of your purpose, the universe was aligning someone whose destiny is tied to yours. This is not just a blessing. This is a full circle moment, the kind that humbles your spirit, the kind that brings tears to your eyes. The kind that makes you realize every delay, every heartbreak, every betrayal, every lonely season was actually positioning you for this exact moment. But here's the deeper truth, the truth that will shake you. This powerful person didn't just remember your kindness, they admired your soul. They admired your resilience, your heart, your integrity. They watched how life tried to break you, but you never stopped being a good person. They watched how the world overlooked you, but you kept showing up with love. And now, they see you as someone worthy of elevation, partnership, opportunity, investment, or even protection. You didn't just save a billionaire. You impacted someone whose destiny was designed to intersect with yours in a way that transforms both your lives. And now, they are coming. Not slowly, not casually, with intention, with gratitude, with opportunity in their hands. The moment you opened that message, the atmosphere in the room shifted again. It felt like a wind moved through your spirit, gentle but undeniable. Your chest warmed. Your intuition whispered, "This is the beginning." You stared at the screen, your heart thumping, not from fear, but from recognition. Your spirit knew long before your mind understood. This was the divine return. This was the seed you sowed years ago, finally blooming. This was the blessing heaven had been protecting until the right time. Until the right time. And now the right time had arrived. You took a deep breath. Your fingers trembled a little. There was a softness in your eyes, a mixture of gratitude, disbelief, and awe. Because after everything you've been through, after all the waiting, all the spiritual warfare, all the nights you felt forgotten, God whispered, "I didn't forget." Meanwhile, on the other side of that message, this powerful figure, the one whose life you unknowingly impacted, was sitting in a room full of people. But their focus wasn't on the boardroom, the contracts, the plans, or the endless noise of the world. Their focus was on you. They remembered the moment that changed their trajectory, not the business lessons, not the financial strategies, not the opportunities they chased. They remembered the moment your kindness restored their faith in humanity. And now they felt something they hadn't felt in years, a pull, a certainty, a divine nudge. Almost like heaven itself whispered into their ear, "Honor the one who honored you, bless the one who blessed you, find the one who saved you." And so they did. Back to you. You read the message again. Each sentence felt like a key unlocking a door in your spirit. You didn't know how to respond. You didn't know what to say. You didn't know how to process the magnitude of this moment, because deep inside you felt it. Everything in your life had been preparing you for this turning point. Every heartbreak that shaped your compassion. Every rejection that strengthened your character. Every silent season that deepened your connection with God. Every lonely night that trained your endurance. Every act of kindness that revealed your true nature. Every delay that protected you from the wrong path. None of it was waste. Not a single tear, not a single setback, not a single season of waiting. Everything aligned to bring you here. You finally responded. And when you did, the person on the other side felt relieved, even emotional, because they had been searching for you longer than you realized. And now the door was open. A real conversation began, one filled with sincerity and gratitude. They told you how your small act changed their life. They told you how they never forgot your energy, your empathy, your spirit. They told you how your presence lit a path for them in a moment of darkness. And then they told you the words that made your breath catch. "I want to give something back to you, not out of obligation, but out of genuine honor." The offer that changes everything. They didn't come to give you scraps. They didn't come to offer pity. They didn't come to fulfill a debt. They came to open a door, a real door, a divine door, a door you didn't even know existed. Maybe it's a partnership. Maybe it's a job offer. Maybe it's mentorship. Maybe it's a financial blessing. Maybe it's a business opportunity. Maybe it's a Maybe it's a platform, a connection, a sponsorship, or a life-changing invitation. Whatever form it takes, it is big, it is divine, and it is directly tied to your destiny. And here's the part that will shake your soul. They didn't just want to bless you, they wanted to invest in you, build with you, to also support your journey, walk with you into the next season of your life. Not because you're lucky, but because you're chosen. Not because you begged, but because your heart earned it. Not because you forced it, but because God orchestrated it. Let me tell you a divine truth. When God wants to elevate you, He sends people who see your value. When God wants to honor you, He brings someone who remembers what the world forgot. When God wants to change your life, He uses someone whose gratitude becomes a blessing for your future. This is not coincidence. This is divine alignment. This is the answer to prayers you stopped praying because the wait felt too long. This is heaven saying, it's your turn now. But then something unexpected happened. As the conversation deepened, you realized it wasn't just about what they wanted to give you. It was about what God wanted to reveal to you. You thought you were done. You thought the story had ended. You thought the blessing was already on the table. But then heaven whispered, and the person said something almost prophetic. I don't just want to repay you. I want to connect your destiny with something bigger, something long-term, something life-changing. Your eyes widened, your spirit stirred, your heart pounded, because you could feel it. This wasn't a blessing. It was a calling, a divine appointment, a supernatural turning point. And this is where your life changes forever. The blessing that was delayed finally arrives. The kindness you sowed finally returns. The spiritual seeds you planted finally bloom. The destiny that felt distant finally comes into view, and all the suffering you endured, all the battles you survived, all the nights you cried suddenly make sense, because God wasn't punishing you. He was positioning you. He was positioning. He wasn't ignoring you. He was preparing you. He wasn't denying you. He was protecting your timing. Now the season of waiting is ending. Now the season of restoration is beginning. Now the universe is returning every blessing you gave away, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Before we close, let me speak this over you. You are stepping into a season of divine recognition. People who dismissed you will be silenced. People who underestimated you will be humbled. People you blessed will return with greater blessings. Your kindness is becoming currency. Your heart is becoming your breakthrough. Your character is opening doors money cannot buy. This is your season of return, your season of elevation, your season of divine reward, and no force of darkness can stop what God has already released. If this message spoke to your spirit, read this deeply. This isn't entertainment. This is confirmation. You didn't find this by accident. You are guided here. So if you feel this in your chest, if something in your spirit is stirring, if you feel tears rising behind your eyes, comment I receive it right now, not for algorithm, but as an act of faith. And if you feel connected to messages like this, if you want more divine clarity, protection, and prophetic guidance, subscribe. Stay connected. Don't walk this journey alone. Your breakthrough is closer than you think, and your blessing is already on its way. This is your season. Chosen one. Step into it. Sparkle.